my fellow readers. In this video I'm going to be going over my top manga and light novel reads from 2022. And this one was a little tricky, especially with the light novels, because even though I read quite a few, it was hard to decide, like, to just pick some was hard. I really enjoyed most of the light novels that I read and would highly recommend them. But I did grab the ones that really I feel passionate about continuing the series and finishing the series. So let's see what I chose. Manga, though, was even harder because I will say, like, I love manga. And so most of what I read and reviewed, like, go after and read it. It was really good. So I had a bit harder time choosing my favorites there. There's one that you're not going to be surprised did not make the list, and I'm not going to talk about it. Sorry, it's not my favorite. It's going to be on a ton of other people's list. It's not on mine. It didn't make it. But let's do light novels first. So let's go. I'm just making sure of how many I have. So coming in at number 6 is Unnamed Memory. I liked this a lot. I like the relationship between the two main characters, and I'm terrible with names, but Oscar and Tinashe, yes. I love their dynamic and their relationship, and I love that at the end of Volume 1 we start to get into Tinashe's backstory, and I'm really looking forward to moving on with the series. I have not yet. I've only finished book 1. I think I have the whole rest of this, because I think there was only like 6 volumes. So yeah, one of my goals for the year is to finish this series, and I loved it a lot. If you want that fantasy with a great dynamic between the main characters that are also kind of love interests, there you go. Number 5 is Accomplishments of the Duke's Daughter. And I was kind of surprised that I got so into this one, but once I started reading it, I was like, oh no, this one's good. I love, again, the dynamic with the relationships here. And, you know, I remember there's the one that I'm pretty sure has the other backstory that we're going to get, the big reveal. I don't think they dealt with that yet. Like, they didn't deal with that, right? In this volume, and I have a bunch of other volumes for this. Yeah, I'm either caught up or almost, not like I haven't read them, but I think I have most of the series that's been released. I might be missing a volume or two. I think maybe only one, because I think the next volume comes out in 2023. But yeah, I loved this. I was surprised that I would like a book that also deals with, like, the economy and, like, setting up the structure for an area and, like, all that stuff, like talking about education and economy. But I like this a lot. It's just, I don't know, it's a nice light novel that I enjoy. I'm looking at these and I'm like, oh man, I really can't wait to continue that story. I gotta keep reading it. Which is good, and also why it's one of my top ones for the year. Next, another one that I'm just loving the story too. I love the characters. I love the possibilities and, like, little potentials, especially for some romance happening in them. And the next one is Tale of the Secret Saint. Yeah, I'm loving this one. Like, out of all of them, this one reads as, like, the adventure shoujo story, and I love fantasy shoujo, and this is just like that. And yeah, have a good time with it, and I love seeing her interaction with certain other characters, and I'm vibing. So I'm looking forward to being able to read more of this one too. And I think, yeah, I have at least 2 other volumes of this one to go, so hopefully soon I will be back in this world. Next, one I reviewed fairly recently, and again, kind of took me by surprise, and I love its humor. Like, out of all of them, this one gets kind of the humor trope award, but it's Cross-Dressing Villainess Cecilia Sylvie. Just it's funny. It's funny. I love the character dynamics and situations, and yeah, I'm looking forward to more of this as well. And I think I have at least volume 2 of this one, and I think the other ones are either coming out shortly or maybe 3 is already out, but it is being continued by me. And next, which I actually just finished volume 2 of, but is My Happy Marriage. These are very quick reads. They're usually very short, sort of episodic, sort of. Like there's usually some big event that does get totally covered in there. And I don't know how long this series will go on. I know there's at least volume 3, which I own, have not gotten to read yet. And 4 is coming out, question mark? I'm trying to remember from my upcoming releases what ones were on there, but I don't know, like, how far can you go with this story? Like, the magic system-wise, you definitely could. For what they're dealing with here and how the magic system works, can definitely go on. But I don't know what the overarching plot would be. I don't know, but I loved this. I love the relationship. I like seeing the two of them work together to help heal a lot of the issues that Mio has from the way that she was raised, and how like terrible her stepmother and half-sister were to her. So it's good. Oh, her father too. Like her father was terrible. I said that, but I'm like, oh, her father was also trash. But it's good seeing her relationship with him and how he also has to learn to be like more expressive and to let her know that sometimes if he doesn't say anything or does say it, like he's not trying to be mean to her or ignore her, like he has trouble being emotional himself. So anyway, I like the relationship here. And then my favorite, which I don't think is a surprise because I've talked about this series a lot. I love it. I think it, again, is funny. I like the characters. I like the whole setup. I just like the world and the writing. And that's Tear Moon Empire. Now, it was probably surprising I did not put Ascendance of a Bookworm on here. I love that series as well, so it's hard to not have it be up here. But I think I'm still intimidated by that series because there's a lot of it. So maybe after I catch up on all these, I'll also include like Ascendance of a Bookworm. But that being said, Tear Moon Empire is so good. It's so funny, and I don't know, I feel like so warm and cozy. It is kind of, for me, like a cozy light novel. Like the characters, like the interaction, like the world. It's just good and cozy and something that I can take a break from everything with. And I do have quite a few Tear Moon volumes that I have to get through, but I'm looking forward to it. So there you go. There are my top light novels for the year. Now, on to my favorite manga from 2022. So before I get into what my favorites were, I do have a few that deserve honorable mention. Now, most of my honorable mention choices come in with those cozy vibes that I, for one, just adore. Like, I like being in a cozy environment where I feel safe. I do like a lot of other ones too that, like, I like horror and I like a lot of suspense. That's also fine. But I would say a lot of these that are near favorites, they're all favorites. I'm just saying, again, they're all favorites. But these are the near favorites that are cozy. I just had a good time reading them, and most of them are also fantasy. 2 of them are not. I say most of them, but it's nearly even. Let's do these first, because I do feel like these are all fantasy cozy vibes. So we have The Fiancé Chosen by the Ring, which is also gorgeous. all of these have gorgeous artwork as well. So Fiancé Chosen by the Ring, A Gentle Noble's Vacation Recommendation, and The Other World's books depend on the bean counter, which, again, gorgeous art, all cozy, like fantasy vibes. Yeah, these I will always be like happy to pick up and travel into that world and just have a relaxed state of mind. And there are a few more that are similar to that vibe, but these for sure, I just know if I see a volume, I want to pick it up, I want to read it and get into that world and just escape for a while. Next, again, cozy, but kind of more cozy mystery vibes. And also like gentle mystery. So it's cozy, gentle mystery vibes. So not like dead body, but like gentle mysteries, like you're just solving some kind of mystery. Is The Case Files of Jeweler Richard, which I adore, and actually just finished the light novel of Volume 1, which I have things to say. Not about the light novel, which is fine. Very much like the same story as this, but I was going through my releases for 2023, and I saw that like Volume 3 of the light novel is coming out soon. But thinking then that Volume 2 must have been released, I went to look that up, and I'm talking about the print version, not the digital version, which you can get. But like, there's no print version for Volume 2? Question mark? I'm a little bit confused. But anyway, I love this one. I think both the manga and the light novel are very good, very well done. I think this might be a series where I end up continuing both, because I really love the art and storytelling in the manga. But I also really appreciated the light novel, because I feel like the light novel made some things that I was a little bit confused about with the way that the manga was set up more clear in the light novel, which I still need to review the light novel. But yeah, I love this one. And this one very nearly made my actual top list, because I've been waiting for it to get released, and I love it. And both this and its companion series are like one of my top favorite, like warm, fuzzy, cozy series. And this one is Hirano and Takagira, and I love this so much. It's a love story. It's cozy. It's just, it got all the vibes and all the feels, and yeah, like you feel relaxed just looking at it, and that makes me happy. So there you go. Those are my very, very honorable mentions that are my near favorites. And then this one, I'm just going to make, it's kind of punny that this is kind of on the border of both. So I'm going to go ahead and show it, and I'm still waiting to read the other volumes. But Alice in Borderland, I feel like this one surprisingly swept me away. I wasn't anticipating loving it as much as I did, but man, I got engrossed by Volume 1, and I cannot wait to read Volume 2 and the rest of the series. But so good. Yeah. Next, so I have a top 6 for manga, and the first one, the bottom, number 6, I don't actually have the physical copy for. I borrowed it from the library, so I do not own it, but number 6 goes to Perfect World, which I reviewed fairly recently, and I loved that story. I loved that it brought a lot of issues to the forefront, and especially in dealing with people with disabilities, and in that case, like somebody that was wheelchair bound. Again, it was interesting for me to see culturally the difference, like things that we have to do in America that Japan hasn't done or conformed to yet. Like a lot of things I would almost say like we would take for granted, you wouldn't be able to do there. Like there are buildings or whatever that aren't made to the same codes that like our buildings have to be. And so it's really, it was interesting to me. But even outside of that, like taking into account, like even in the United States, and maybe again that also can vary state to state because we're weird, but it's interesting that, like, I don't know, I guess for me it would just open my eyes to like how certain things are done, or like I notice things more, like how difficult certain things would be, and I appreciate that a lot. Plus just the love story was really sweet and cute in it. I'm not gonna lie, I like a good fluffy love story. So moving on, number 5. Number 5 goes to I Can't Stop Cursing You, which I think the final volume of this is out and I just need to read it. But did read most of it. I loved the art for this. I loved how dark it was. I love the little mysteries of it, but like, unlike Jeweler Richard, which is like gentle mysteries, this is darker. Like, people are literally dying and they have to find the cursor. And so our Cursebreaker has to break the curses. And as much as I love gentle, I also love dark and creepy, and this was good. And so it stands out, like, especially when I think about like the series that I was reading around that time, this stands out as like the winner and my favorite for it. And number 4 goes to the one I can never say. I don't know German. Freya, is that right? I don't know. But this one is another one that took me by surprise. Like, I had wanted to read this for a while, but I put it off. And then when I finally got around to it, I loved it so much. I love the look of the after story. Like, what happens after the hero party is victorious? What is life like for them? And in this case, we're dealing with the main character who lives vastly longer than her companions, and especially her human companion, who's right there, who at the start of this has passed on. And then she goes to, well, she's going on another journey, but seeing how she can interact with new people, but also she meets up with some of the other companions again, and what happens after that. And this is another one that's highly emotional and really kind of has you take a look at life and relationships, and in some cases, like, what is the value to them when life is so short. I mean, I'm not saying there isn't, I'm saying like that's literally what it goes over, is how important those relationships can be, even though life can be short. And yeah, I like this one. That was a good one. It's just good. Number 3, this is okay. Wait, I guess I'm switching it up a little bit. Number 3 is going to go to another series that I don't have, and borrowed once again, but did review, and that is Requiem of the Rose King, the manga retelling of Richard III, which I really, really enjoyed. I liked the whole take of it. It's still going on. Like, it's not completed yet. I can't remember where we're up to, like volume 16 or 17, maybe 18. I don't know. We're pretty far into that story, but I loved the artwork. I loved the storytelling. I loved the relationships in there and how twisted and dark everything can be. And I know historically what kind of needs to happen in order to fulfill those roles, even though a lot of it is quite different from the more historical perspective. A lot of it is kind of keeping in the overall storyline. So I don't know. I'm very, very interested to see what's going to happen there and how it's all going to come together and end. But it is a great retelling and cannot recommend that one enough. It's just it's really good. Next, I'm so torn between these two. So I'm going to do like 2 in 1, but really these can be interchangeable. These are my favorites of the year. So coming in, I guess, at number 2, even though it could also be number 1. So what I'm going to talk about right now is Blue Flag, which, again, I've already reviewed, but this one is such an emotional story that kind of ends up surprising you by the end. So I would say even if bits like drag in the middle, because I was unsure. I had some volumes there that I did not really like, but by the end of the series, it pulls you back in, and the ending was just so unexpected, but so well done and beautiful. I loved it. I loved how that all came together and ended. So, my number 2 choice, Blue Flag. So good. This is a relationship fiction drama, and it's good. There's some I'm kind of like, oh, I'd love to kind of do a reread of that, just to be back in there and see is it still that good. It's kind of like last year, one of my favorites probably would have been, and last year meaning the year before last, but probably would have been Oh Maidens in Your Savage Season, which I really, really loved. That would have definitely been one of my favorites. I'd love to do a reread of that sometime soon and just see if I still feel the same. And number 1, which may or may not be a surprise, but is actually going to go to Prince Freya. This first volume especially kind of told what kind of story it was going to be, and that you had to kind of expect the unexpected, almost in a Game of Thrones-esque way. You don't know. You don't know exactly what's going to happen. And so I do go into new volumes of Freya wondering where the twists are going to be and what's going to happen. But this is a great fantasy series. Like, I'm sorry, flat out, it's a great fantasy series. I like the heavy emotions that it deals with. I like that there are still some things that I'm kind of suspicious of that haven't been revealed yet. I like that there is like at least a love triangle that is also kind of twisted, and it's hard to judge whether it's a real like love triangle or if there's other emotions that weren't dealt with from other things that are impacting it. Yeah, I love the characters. I love the relationship dynamics. I love the real threats and stakes to all the characters, because this is a wartime setting, and I don't know beyond that. Like, I like it. I like this a lot. This is one that hits a lot of the spots that I like a good series to hit. And really that wraps up my favorites from 2022. I'm so looking forward to 2023 and seeing new series to discover, and like what's going to be my favorites for the year, and I'm very excited. This year, like manga wise, I'd kind of like to finally read the Arata series by Yu Watase, who was supposed to be working on the series, but I haven't heard anything in like recent, actually over the last year. I didn't really hear anything about whether or not anything had been published. But it was supposed to be resuming, and I don't know whether or not it has yet, which is why I went ahead and bought like all the previous volumes, because I kind of wanted to wait until it was released, and then I thought maybe it was done, but then found out there's supposed to be more. But I do think that one of my goals this year would be to go ahead and read Arata and see how much I like it, because I do love a lot of Yu Arase's stories. I like the characters and the relationships of those characters and how everything works out. So that's what I'd like to read. I need to finish Toilet Bound Hanako, so I'll be doing that this year, hopefully. And there's just a ton. There's a ton. I have a huge stack of books that I still need to go through and read, and I'm really excited about it. But weren't those books great? I hope if you have not read them yet that you give these series a chance, because they're all really, really good. And they were my favorites from 2022. That is it for this video. Until next time, bye.